how I think it's important that we use LID as an urban greening strategy, but if we're doing it without also incorporating restoration of natural processes and letting natural processes be the driver of the habitat areas or the actual components of the open space, then we are not really creating equivalent experiences for people in these areas. And again, being a question of equity and institutional racism, there is that area also where it may not be what community members desire. And so that also has to be layered into the decision-making process there. But that said, I think people also have to have experiences and an understanding of how those processes function in order to be able to make those decisions about what they want. They might know offhand, we need play space, and that's one thing. But if you haven't had the opportunity to experience nature, is that something you're even going to want? I think is a question to ask, and to ask, how do we make that a palatable option, or even just create the exposure for that to be an option? So I'm just going to leave it at that and sort of monkey wrench the question a little bit.
Yeah, interesting perspective. Thank you, Jessica. We have little under a minute, but there is a question that for Kelsey that we want to make sure that we answer here. And what were the data inputs to assess habitat in the maps that you provided?
Yes, sorry, I was just responding in the chat, so then I got distracted. Yes, so for the habitat, we looked at a few different things. So we had a pretty good land cover data layer from LA County. This is from the LARIAC data, which is a combination of LiDAR, and this is really not my area of expertise, but and other methods for getting pretty accurate on the ground information. And so we looked at those land uses, and we looked at, so that includes buildings, roads, other paved area, shrubs and trees and grass. And so what our science team decided, and this is not perfect, like I said, there's a lot of assumptions, which I'm happy to talk about later, but we looked at other paved and bare soil as opportunity areas, as the easiest for conversion to nature-based solutions. It's just less likely that roads and buildings are going to be converted, not impossible. And then we looked at grass and shrubs and trees as existing habitat. Also flawed, because grass often is not habitat at all when it's a manicured lawn. So I think that sort of gives you some idea. I know that we're closing our breakout, but I'm happy, Tom, to follow up with you or anybody else to talk a little bit more about those methods. Thanks for the question.
Great, thank you, Kelsey. All right, we'll join, if everyone can join in the main room, and we'll close out. Thank you so much, Atlee. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Kelsey, and participants. We appreciate your involvement with us and sharing your expertise.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks all.